ከናቴም ካባቴም ቢሆን የፈለኩት ነገር አንዳንዴ ጥያቄ ሲጠይቁኝ ወይ ደግሞ እኔ ስጠይቃቸው or just when I'm sharing something መልስ እንዲመልሱልኝ አይደለም ወይ ደግሞ አድቫይስ እንዲሰጡኝ አይደለም ግን በቃ simply እንዲሰሙኝ I'm going through this.
To me, I find it ironic in some situations when kids cut off their parents because it feels like you're cutting off the people who gave you the wings to fly, to even be in this country, to learn a new mindset, to have...
Especially with this topic is fear of people. Hey, so minilal. Who's going to talk about us because my son has depression? What are people going to say? And I think በዚህ ፍርሃት ውስጥ ብዙ የተጎዱ ልጆች እንዳሉ አውቃለሁ. And I think as a community, we have two decisions.
When I went to college, I was a resident advisor. ማለት ልጆች freshmen አዲስ ሲመጡ እዛ ፍሎር ላይ like in the supervisor ነበርኩኝና ብዙ ጊዜ we would have situations where ልጆች would say I want to kill myself ይሉና like እኛ እንጠራለን ምናምን እና ብዙ ጊዜ I noticed the difference like that shocked me is a lot of those kids when they were going through that kind of those emotions they had they were comfortable to call their parents and in the middle they would talk to their parents about I'm feeling እንደዚህ ራሴን ማጥፋት ፈልጋለሁ ትምህርት ከብዶኛል ምናምን እና it would honestly catch me off guard and not shock me because I would never even call my parents to cry about something.
የሰየምኩበት ምክንያት ሁሉ ጊዜ ወላጆች ስንባል ከላይ ወደ ታች ነው ሁሉ ይሄን አርጊ ይሄን አታርጊ ይሄንን ሁኚ ይሄን አትሁኚ ግን ቆም ብለን ልጆቻችን ምን መሆን ትፈልጋላችሁ ምንድነው ቅድም እንዳልኳችሁ ጥሩ አባት ነኝ ጥሩ እናት ነኝ ብለን መጠየቅ የምንችልበትን ግሬስ ብዙ ጊዜ ደግሞ እነዚህ ልጆች almost sometimes they feel like we are a lost cause correct እና ግሬስ አድገው ቁጭ ብለው መተው ከኛ ጋር ሲወያዩና መልስ ሲሰጡን ወይ ጥያቄያቸውን ሲያቀርቡልን ማዳመጥ እንዳለብን መስማት እንዳለብን ልባችሁንም አይናችሁንም ጆሮአችሁንም ከፍታችሁ እነዚህ ልጆች እንድታዳምጧቸው ብዙ ከነዚህ ልጆች የምንማረው ስፔሻሊ ደግሞ በአሁን ሰዓት ላይ ልጆች የምናሳድግ ያለን የ10 ዓመት ልጆች ያሉ ልጆች ላይ ምን ባረግ እነዚህ ደረጃ የሚደርሱበትን ብቻ ሳይሆን ከዛም የበለጠ መሆን የሚችሉትን ከነዚህ ልጆች ማዳመጥ ስለምንችል ካለፉበት ጊዜያቸውን ወስደው they are busy በዚህ ሰዓት ላይና ያንን አሳልፈው መተው ከኛ ጋር ስለተቀመጡ መጀመሪያ እነዚህ ልጆች በጣም አመሰግናለሁ በሉልኝ ራሳቸውን ያስተዋውቃሉ. So let me start. So we're going to mix this in English and Amharic. So let's please listen. Now this is the time the kids are sharing their experience, what they're going through and what can change to make our society much better. Please listen to this use as much as you can. And then you can ask a question at the end. So just like we always do, you introduce yourself.
Yeah, nice to see a lot of people that I already know.
Hi, salam, Fikir Yaqub Balallo. I've also lived here over 17 years. By career, I'm a real estate agent and Nadamo Kadim Yawarut A+ tutoring ጥናት company owner ነኝ. የልጆች ጥናት company ነን. I know Daniel ቅድም mention አድርገዋል. የኮሚኒቲውን ልጆች we try to help kids build the foundation. ጥናታቸው ላይ ትልቅ ሲሆኑ that confidence and knowledge እንዲኖራቸው. Please talk to me after and we can talk about how we can help. Thank you.
Hi everyone. ስሜ ኤደን ነው. እኔም እንደነሱ ረጅም ዓመት ኖሬያለሁ። ከ10 ዓመት ጀምሮ ነው እዚህ ኖርኩት። Currently I'm a student. I'm getting my master's in public policy and public administration. ስራ ደግሞ ለስቴት ገቨርንመንት እሰራለሁ in the Department of Labor and Employment. I do grants work and yeah.
It's amazing. Hi everyone. እንደነሱ ጎበዝ ስላልሆንኩኝ በእንግሊዝኛ ነው የማወራው. So my name is Emnet. I grew up here in Denver. I was a teacher in the area, a community member, a fellow church member for many of you, and I now work in consulting.
We have some fans over there, I guess. So thank you again for being here. This is a time that, so each of you, I'm going to give you a chance to share your experience, and if there is one thing or two things that could have been different the way you were raised, that could have helped you better, or right now it would help other kids. So I'm going to go the same way.
I think ይሄ ጥያቄ በእንግሊዝኛ ነው መመለስላችሁ because I feel like I'd be able to communicate it better this way. I grew up in Denver. I grew up with a single mom, and I think because of that, there was a lot of like ብዙ ኃላፊነት ነበረኝ ከኔ ላይ. I have to succeed. I have to get to a specific place very quickly. I wish my mom could look at me and say, it's okay to make mistakes. አውቃለሁ ልጅ ነሽ. ይሄ ሁሉ burden ካንቺ ላይ እንደሆነ አውቃለሁ ብላ ቁጭ ብላ you know, if she sat down and talked to me that way, then I would feel relieved, like, okay, I know there's so much going on, but at least my mom is giving me ability to make mistakes, ability to learn, ability to be a child, and just the acknowledgement that it is hard would have been so helpful for me growing up.
I will say, you know, I'm very thankful for everything that my parents have done. I think I had a very great upbringing, like where my parents provided for us and allowed us to do so many activities that we wanted. I will say something I wish was an addition to our upbringing, mine and my siblings, would probably be the ability to communicate with them about things outside of our grades in school and what we're going to do in our future. So just open communication about things that we may have needed advice on, or like personal things that we were going through.
Like Afi said, I also grew up in a single mom household. እና አንድ ነገር ከቤተሰቤ ከእናቴም ከአባቴም ቢሆን የፈለግኩት ነገር አንዳንዴ ጠያቄ ሲጠይቁኝ ወይ ደግሞ እኔ ስጠይቃቸው or just when I'm sharing something መልስ እንዲመልሱልኝ አይደለም ወይ ደግሞ አድቫይስ እንዲሰጡኝ አይደለም ግን በቃ simply እንዲሰሙኝ I'm going through this and now I know they want to give advice. I know it's coming from a good place. ግን አንዳንዴ ያንን trust establish ለማድረግ ነው የምነግራቸው እንጂ advice እንዲሰጡኝ አልነበረም እና በቃ ሲሰሙ ደግሞ መልስ ለመስጠት ሳይሆን በቃ just to say I'm here for you, I'm listening. And as much as I want to provide my own advice, I know sometimes you have to go through it yourself and make the mistakes yourself. And not እንደዚህ እኔን personal ነገር ደግሞ ስነግራቸው እድሉን እየሰጧቸው ነበረ ትሰማላችሁ ወይስ ትመልስላችሁ ከመለሳችሁ it's fine, I get it, ግን ያንን trust establish እንዳደርግ ያንን personal relationship እንድንሰራ bridge እየሰጠሁኝ ነበረ እነሱ ግን በሌላ ነገር ወሰዱት ስለዚህ አንዳንዴ እንደ ቤተሰብ ዝም ብሎ ብትሰሙን I think it's nice መልስም ደግሞ ካለ maybe ከሳምንት በኋላ መልሱልኝ
I love that answer. I was going to give one answer, and then when I heard Eden's, it really resonated with me because I'm a little older now. And this is still something that I struggle with my parents. So I have really wonderful parents. I think they raised me in such an excellent way. I could only dream of being a parent like they are. But one thing that could have been improved is that sometimes when I say things, when I express a problem, I don't know if they're fully comfortable in just sitting in the problem and accepting it and feeling like they want to fix things for me. They say like, or don't feel that way. And it's like, I'm going to feel how I'm going to feel. Like you can hear about it or you cannot, but that's just a reality. The other thing I would say is I saw this in other parents as well, but sometimes I think they would discount themselves. They would say, "Oh, well, I can't talk to you about this," or maybe so and so can talk to you. Not so much my parents, but I saw this a lot in the community where a lot of parents feel like they're not good enough to have certain conversations with their kids, and I think that the kids love and admire and respect their parents so much, and I wish they would just have a different mindset, like thinking more highly of themselves.
Thank you. I think I'm going to stay with you, Emnet. So what do you think, what kind of structure or whatever enabled in your home to have that, call it, healthy relationship in your family?
Okay, so I would say I'm very close with my parents, and it's not because we fully understand each other or we've always understood each other. When you think about it, it kind of makes me laugh to think about how different I am from my parents and how differently we grew up. For example, my mom and dad, in Ethiopia, they experienced many different things. In some situations, they had suffered through war or whatever it may be. For me, I grew up in Colorado. I grew up in the suburbs. I went to predominantly white schools from kindergarten through 8th grade, let alone being the only Habesha person in my class. I was oftentimes the only black person in my classroom. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there just to have differences or misunderstandings with your parents. But at the same time, I feel like I had a good relationship with my parents, even when they irritated me, because I knew they loved me. They spent a lot of time with my sister and I. My dad used to take us on walks every morning. My mom used to talk to us like we were her peers, in a way, like, she would talk to us about like like she wouldn't treat us like kids. And I think that them being open and being transparent and just showing us love, even if there's a language difference, people understand love, they understand sacrifice. And I think love covers a lot, even if there are some differences and disagreements, because there always are, because that is how family life works.
Yeah, there's always love, there's always misunderstanding. So Aiden, I think it leads us to your question, because we talk about the 5 languages of love, but in our culture, do we really understand it? ከበላሽ ከጠጣሽ ምን ትፈልጊያለሽ? አይደለ? ቤት አለሽ፣ መተኛት አለሽ፣ ትምህርት ቤት ይሻል፣ ልብስ አለሽ. So how do we bring love language or understanding in our community?
So even though Dawit mentioned psychology and jobs, one of my majors was psychology, and I was able to find a job. If you guys were worried about me, I'm okay, thank you. But psychology, it was a major that I added towards the end of college, and it honestly changed my life, because I learned that I had trauma that I didn't even know that word existed truly, even though I grew up here. And I learned about love languages. I learned about how they manifest and how we all experience love differently, how we receive it differently. So the 5 different love languages are quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation. What were the other ones? Physical touch, and gift giving. So mine, for me, is quality time and words of affirmation. But my mom's is acts of service. And so we had, for me, it was really important. Let me try this in Amarinya. ለእኔ በጣም እፈልግ ነበር እንደዚህ I'm proud of you ወድሻለሁ ምናምን ለማለት, because that's how I receive love. እሷ ግን ከቤት ነው የምሰራው እና ጠዋት ትደውልልኝና ቁርስ በላሽ ወይ ቡና ሰርቼ አውጥቼ ልሻለሁ ወይ ደግሞ ሳልጠይቃት የምወደው ምግብ ትሰራልኝና ክፍሌ ታመጣልኛለች ስራ እየሰራው. And for her, that was her way of saying I love you. ግን እኔ እንደዛ አልመሰለኝም። በቃ እናት ናታ ምግብ ካልሰጠችኝ ምን ትሰጠኛለች ብዬ እንደ ፍቅር አልወሰድኩትም። እኔ ደግሞ እንደዚህ አንዳንድ ነገር ሳረግላት ቴንኪዩ እንድትል እፈልጋለሁ። ውይ ልጄ በጣም ወድሻለሁ proud of you ነኝ እንድትለኝ እፈልግ ነበረ። So we had different love languages. ስለዚህ እሷ ይሄንን ሁሉ ስታረግ በቃ ፍቅሯን እያሳየችኝ መስሎኛል። ግን እኔ ደግሞ ያንን እየጠበቅኩኝ ስለነበረ for a very long time miscommunication ነበረን። እና አንድ ጊዜ አሁን በቅርብ ጊዜ ኢትዮጵያ ሄደን ቲኬቱን ለእኔም ለእሷ ገዛውላትና ሰርፕራይዝ ነገር አደረኳት። ከዛ ኦኬ አለች እና ቀጠለች በህይወቷ። and I was like እንዴ ቴንኪዩ እንኳን አይባልም እንዴ እኔ ብሬ ለፍቼ ያመጣሁትን እሷ የምትለኝም ነገር እኔ መለስኩላት። ከዛ እንዴ እኔ እኮ አላወኩም በቃ እኔ እኮ በቃ እንደዚህ ኮሳር ምናምን ነገር አለችኝ። ከዛ we had a heart to heart conversation እና ብዙ ነገር አድርጌልሻለሁ ደግሞ እንደ ሲንግል ማም ስላሳደግሽኝ በቃ በጣም በብዙ ተራራተን ነው ያደግነው ግን አንድ ቀንም እውነት ቴንክ ዩ ስትይ አልሰማሁሽም። ከዛ በጣም ደነገጠች። እንዴ ኦፍ ኮርስ በጣም ፕራውድ እኮ ነኝ እግዚአብሔርን ቀን በቀን አመሰግናለሁ እንዳንቺ አይነት ልጅ ስለሰጠኝ ለምን አትነግሪኝም ስላት እንዴ ያወቅሽ መሰለኝ እኮ አለች። So it was such like a profound moment because I think she was sad that I spent my whole life thinking she wasn't proud of me or that I thought she wasn't proud of me. And I spent, a lot of times thinking like, does she see my sacrifices or does she just expect it to be because of our situation? And so after that, now she says, thank you. በግድም ቢሆን ትላለች እና ጥሩ ደረጃ ላይ ደረስን and that's because I learned her love language and she learned mine. ስለዚህ ለእናንተም አድቫይስ የምሰጠው አንዳንዴ እናንተ ለልጆቻችሁ በአክታችሁ ቤት በመስጠትም በምንም ቢሆን ፍቅር ልታሳዩ ትችላላችሁ ግን አንዳንዴ ልጆቻችሁ ያንን I'm proud of you ማለትን ይፈልጋሉ ያንን እየጠበቁ ነው ወይ ደግሞ for them እንደዚህ I love you ፊዚካችሁ ለነሱ ላይሆን ይችላል ለነሱ ሌላ ነገር እንደ ጊፍት ነገር ሊሆን ይችላል ስለዚህ I'm not saying go buy an iPhone ግን እቃ ያል እንደዚህ አይነት እንትኖችን ማወቅ ጥሩ ነው ኮሙኒኬት ለማድረግም ይረዳል እንዴት ኮሙኒኬት ከልጆቻችሁ ጋር የምትፈልጉትም እና ሁሉ ጊዜ ስልካቸው ላይ ሲሆኑ like ሌላ ነገር ላይሆን ይችላል that's just how they work so ያንን ማወቅ taking the time to see how you also give love and receive love በጣም ነው ኮሙኒኬት እንድታደርጉ የሚረዳችሁ and hopefully my experience teaches you that.
Thank you. በዚህ ብቻ ለምን ይሄንን ፓናል እንደምናደርግ ይገባችኋል አይደል? ወላጆች እየሰጡ ነው እያፈቀርኩ ነው ግን እነሱ ደግሞ የሚቀበሉበት መንገድ ሌላ ከሆነ በእነሱ ብቻ ሳይሆን በሪሌሽንሺፕም ስለሚወራ five language really started with relationship ላይ ለማስተካከል ተብሎ ግን ልጆቻችንን በየቤት ውስጥ የሚቀበሉት ግን thank you for taking the time to teach your mom. አሁን she can say thank you. አይደል? Thank you. We're so proud of you for being here. Eden. Fikir, let me come to you. We talked about love languages and everything else. በዚህ ሁሉ ውስጥ ግን ወላጆች ቅድም ያወራ ነው ይሄን ካልሆንሽልኝ ዶክተር ካልሆንሽልኝ ያለን የምንሳሳታቸው ነገሮች ይኖራሉ በፍቅርም ቢሆን የምንፈልጋቸውና how can we help ourselves level way and how can you help us not to make those mistakes especially choosing your career where you move who you marry all of those things might come on እና አንቺስ ምን ትያለሽ?
Okay, I think ትንሽ ከባድ ጥያቄ ነው because I understand ብዙ ጊዜ ቤተሰቦቻችን እዚህ ሀገር የሚመጡት ለኛ ጥሩ ላይፍ ለመስጠት ነውና አንዳንዴ ሳያውቁት ብዙ pressure ያረጉብናልና I think the most common I guess mistake so I know በጣም ከባድ ነው ግን I guess advice I would have is ከቻላችሁ like connecting them with older kids or cousins in your families or like through the church so that they have mentorship to learn about different career opportunities that would also make them successful maybe like through real experiences like volunteering or like unpaid internships that way እንትን ሐሳባቸው እንዲሰፋ ያላወቁት ነገር ውስጥ መግባት ስለማይችሉ exposure መስጠት እንደምትችሉት አይነት yeah.
That's good. I think we'll come back to that, so hold on to it. So Efrata, let me come to you. At the end of the day, all of this is going to be about trust. Okay, so trusting our kids or the kids trusting our parents. So healthy የሆነ trust ቤተሰብ ውስጥ ለመፍጠር ምን ያስፈልጋል ትያለሽ?
I think to answer this question, we have to get in a different mindset. ማለት አስተሳሰባችን is not just every day ምን ማድረግ አለብኝ አሁን አሜሪካ ሀገር መኖር በጣም ከባድ ነው ቀን በቀን እንዴት ብዬ ነው ማልፈው አይነት አስተሳሰብ ነው ብዙ ወላጆች ያላቸው and that's true it's very difficult to just day by day just get through everything however ምን አይነት relationship ይኖራችኋል 20 years later with your kids are the actions that you're doing right now with your kids is the kind of relationship right now you have with your kids what does that ምን አይነት result ያመጣል ማለት if you're not talking to your kids about how their day is if you're not talking to your kids about what they think about the world ጭንቀታቸው ምን እንደሆነ አሁን ካልጀመራችሁ why would they talk to you in 20 years when they're having spouse troubles or they have financial issues ወይኔ ወደ አባቴ መደወል አለብኝ እናቴ መደወል አለብኝ ብሎ ለምንድን ነው እንደዛ አይነት ሀሳብ ይኖራቸዋል? if you don't talk to them now, like I'm here for you, I'm here to talk about anything you want to talk about and actually being there, right? I know the last panelist, you talked about not breaking your kids' trust, right? Like not taking what they say and then ለጓደኛቻችሁ በቃ እንደዚህ ሆነ wow, even if it's የኩራት ነገር እንዲያም ቢሆን it's still difficult for your kids to trust you. How do you maintain that trust when they're 28, when they're 30, right? So you really have to think long term, and it's not just ልጆች ናቸው, they're going to forgive me, it's going to be okay. You need to understand that the kind of submit that your kids have now about the things that they tell you, that's going to go on for a very long time. And so course correct ማድረግ አለብን. If this is not the right way, it's great because your kids are young, right? You can still course correct. You can still be able to say, I'm sorry, apologize. And እንደዛ አይነት ልምድ መያዝ አለብን ከዚህ ጀምረን አይደል? ከዛ በኋላ later in life, then you're able to establish that trust brick by brick instead of them getting to a place and now በቃ ልጄ አትደውልልኝም for weeks on end. That's really what we want at the end of the day, that our kids are able to talk to you about big decisions, about small decisions, and it starts when they're younger, I think.
Thank you. So let me come to you, Emnet, actually. So with all of this, just what parents cannot do or should do. But if I turn it back to you guys, maybe I can ask you all similar questions. What kind of responsibilities can you guys take? I think Aidan mentioned earlier about teaching her mom how to say thank you. So we're asking for grace here. So sometimes we mess up big time. So what can you do, or what can you tell your younger siblings how to communicate, or what kind of responsibility can you take to help also a healthier and foster a better relationship in the homes?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to family, those are the relationships that you have in your life that you don't choose, right? Like your family, those are the people that are given to you by God. They are the people you can't get rid of for better or for worse. And I think something I would say to younger kids or even people my age who struggle to have a good relationship with their parents is to accept and love people for who they are and not who you want them to be. So our parents they came from a different culture. Their way of thinking, their mindsets, they're a byproduct of a different time and a different place. And I think sometimes I see people my age who don't want to talk to their parents anymore. Habesha kids too. And I think a part of it is that they think that they have a mindset that's backwards. Their parents, they don't think the way that the kids think. The kids are too progressive for their parents. They think their way of thinking is behind. And I would just say, like, to me, I find it ironic in some situations when kids cut off their parents, because it feels like you're cutting off the people who gave you the wings to fly, to even be in this country, to learn a new mindset, to have the privilege to have an education. So I think something that I want to say is accept people, for your parents, for who they are, and in some instances where they're open to it, teach them if they're open to it, and see how they evolve. Because I think a prior panelist mentioned this, but our parents are growing too. We are getting older, but they're getting older too, and so there will be a time when they're not around. So feel free to grow with them instead of being so harsh.
That's definitely, don't be harsh. No, this definitely helps, because we need the grace. We don't know. I can only teach, or I can be only what I learned from my dad and from my mom. And then having this kind of conversation is going to help us to balance it. So Aidan, let me come back to you. I think you said a lot of things, healthier relationship, but we want you to be a doctor. Doesn't mean that's the only thing, but we want you, if we change that, we want you to be successful. Success is going to be so many different ways. So how can we balance that pressure, still wanting you to be who you can, but at the same time us wanting you to be successful, how can we present it, or how can we talk to you? I don't want to say push, but encourage you to be, because I want you to be better than me. So how can we have that conversation?
That's a good question. So when I was going into college and even afterwards, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and what my career was going to be like, I knew that I wanted to help people and I wanted that to be the goal. And my dad was a teacher in Ethiopia, and so I was like, oh, አስተማሪ መሆን እፈልጋለሁ. That was not accepted, you know, እዚህ ብዙ አይከፈላቸው ምናምን ተባለና my overall goal was to help people. እና እንዴት ሰውን መርዳት እንደምፈልግ አላወኩም ነበር እና those paths like non-profit መሆን እፈልጋለሁ ምናምን ስላቸው ቤተሰብ እናቴን especially successful እንድትሆኝ ይፈልጋለሁ ሌላ ነገር ሁኚ እና ዋና ጎሉን ሰፖርት አደረገችም አባቴንም ስነግረው they support the main goal, and I think that's what it is for a lot of parents. Successful እንድንሆን ይፈልጋሉ እና እኛ መሆን የምንፈልጉም ነገር ዋና ጎሉን overall support ይደረጋል ግን it's the path we disagree on. እና እኔ መሄድበት የፈለኩት ይሄንን ተምሬ ከዛ እዚህ ትንሽ ሰርቼ ከዛ ደግሞ እዛ ሄጄ ሰራለሁ ከዛ ደግሞ ዋናው ትልቅ ቦታ ደርሳለሁ ነው ያልኩት። እናቴ ግን ቀጥታ እዛ ሄጄ አለችኝ። ያ ይዛማ በቀላሉ አይደረስም ወይ ደግሞ ኮሌጅ ከጨረስኩኝ በኋላ ትንሽ ሰርቼ ከዛ ማስተርሴን መስራት ፈለኩኝ just to figure out what I wanted to do. እሷ ግን አይ ዝም ብለሽ ቀጥዩ PhDንም ቀጥይ ተማሪ ልጅ ነሽ ተማሪ. And so I think that's what it is. Like ሁለታችንም ጎላችን አንድ አይነት ነው። እኔም successful መሆን እፈልጋለሁ እሷም እንድሆን ትፈልጋለች ግን የኔ መንገድና የሷ መንገድ ትንሽ ተለያየ። እና ኮሌጅ ከጨረስኩኝ በኋላ ስራ ከጀመርኩኝ በኋላ and then when I thought about doing a master's I told her what I wanted to do originally and she was like ምን I was like yeah this and that. Pharmacy ተማሪ I was like ፋርማሲ እንደ ፖሊሲ ነው ያጠናሁት ያንን ነው ገቨርንመንት ውስጥ ነው መስራት መፈልገው እንዴት ነው ፋርማሲ ምገባ አይ በቃ ክፍያው ጥሩ ነው ትንሽ ከሰራሽ በኋላ ደግሞ እሱን ትተይና ማረግ የምትፈልጊውን ትገባል 40 አመት ስትሆኚ 40 ገና ከ20 አመት በኋላ. So we had to have another conversation. I think that's what it is too. እና ነገርኳት የኔ ፕላን ይሄ ነው እዚህ ለስራ ትንሽ ይሄንን ስራ ከወደድኩኝ በዚያ አጠናለሁ ግን ካልወደድኩት ደግሞ ኦኬ ሌላ ነገር ሞክራለሁ እና ያልኳት እኔንም እመኚ ራስሽንም እመኚ ጥሩ ልጅ አሳድገሻል አንቺ ብዙ ነገር አስተምረሽኛል አባቴም ቢሆን አስተማሪ ስለነበረ ይሄ ሰውን የማስተማር ያገኘሁት ከሱ እኮ ነው አንቺም ደግሞ መልካም ሰው ነሽና መልካም ነገር ማድረግ እፈልጋለሁ ይሄ ነገሮች ሐሳቦቼ they just didn't come out of nowhere ግን ከናትና አባቴ ያስተማሩኝ ነገር ነው እዚህ ቦታ እንዲሄድ ያገፋፋኝ ስለዚህ ያንን ኮንቨርሴሽን ሲኖራት ኦኬ ልክ ነሽ ጥሩ አሳድጌሻለሁ እግዚአብሔር ረድቶኝ ብዙ ነገር አስተምሬሻለሁ አንቺም ደግሞ አድርገሻልና ያንቺን ሐሳብ ያንቺን ፕላን ተረስታ አረጋለሁ አለችኝና again it all worked out it always does ግን ያ ነው እንትኑ I think like I said earlier ጎላችን ሁላችንም success እንድንሆን እንፈልጋለን ግን ፓቱ ሲለያይ በቃ እሱን ሰምተን የእናንተን ሐሳብም ትንሽ ተቀላቅሎ እዛ ላይ ይደረሳል it's my advice.
I love that balancing አይደለ understanding ግን አሁን ኤደን ከተናገረችው ላይ ምንድነው it's a back and forth ነው አዳምጦ መቀየርን ግን you took the time to explain እና ይሄ ነው የሚጎለው ልጆቹ ብዙ ጊዜ frustrated ሆነው I'm going to do whatever I want to do ብለው ጥለው የሚሄዱ ብዙዎች ስላሉ ያንቺን አይዲያ ቢቀበሉ this is ይሄንን የምናረግበት ምክንያት በዚሁ ነውና ፍቅር I think probably it's going to be continuous እሷ ባለችው ላይ ለመጨመር ግን አንዳንዴ ልጆቻችን በየቦታው በየስቴቱ ሲደወልልኝ ሁሌ የምጠይቀው በየስቴቱ ያለውን ችግር ጠይቃለሁ አሁን ናሽቪል የምንሄድበት ጊዜ አለ አንድ ነገር ጠይቁት ምንድነው የናሽቪል ሴቶቻችን ሰክሰስፉል ናቸው ወንዶቹ ግን ጠፍተዋል ምንድነው ችግሩ ነው የደንቨርን በደንብ አላቀውም ቅድም እንደጠየኳት ተመሳሳይ ጥያቄ ነው ግን ብዙ ልጆች በአሁን ሰዓት ላይ አምቢሻቸውን ያጡ ይመስለኛል እና ወይ ሶሻል ሚዲያ ኢንፍሉዌንስ ሊሆን ይችላል የተለያዩ ነገሮችን ኮሌጅ መሄድ is becoming almost not really necessary because I could be a YouTuber or I could be gamer እና በዛ መሃል ውስጥ ግን ሉዝ የተደረገ ነገር አለና how do we still encourage you and then not to lose that ambitious even if you don't end up being a doctor there's so many things in between to be successful ቅድም እንዳልኩትና ምን ትጨምሪያለሽ እሱ ላይ
ኦኬ ትንሽ ኤደን ያለችው ላይ ጨምራለሁ ግን ትንሽ ይከብዳል because you know ambitious ልጆቹ ambitious እንዲሆኑ ከፈለጋችሁ ትንሽ pressure ስታደርጉባቸው ግን ደግሞ you have to balance that with emotional like safety ልጆቹን በጣም ጨንኳቸው ደግሞ የሆነ ነገር ውስጥ እንዳይገቡ ስለማትፈልጉ honestly I think ለሁሉም ሰው ትንሽ ከባድ balance ነው ግን I think ፋሚሊዎች አንደርስታንድ ማድረግ ያለባቸው ሁሉም ሰው እና ልጆች ይለያያሉ ማለት አንዳንድ ሰዎች naturally ambitious ናቸው ማደግ ፍላጎት ይኖራቸዋል እና አንዳንድ ልጆች ደግሞ more encouragement ሊያስፈልጋቸው ይችላል so I think number one like compare ልጆቻችሁን ስታረጉ like oh እንደ እህታችሁ ወይ እንደ ከዝኖቻችሁ ወይ ምናምን ሆኑ ስትሏቸው በጣም encouraging way አይደለም like even though the intention is ለመገፋፋት እና እንደነሱ እደጉ ማለት I wouldn't say it's the most like I guess the most encouraging way to instill the ambition I would say just ሁሌ እንትን ስፔስ ሰጧቸው እነሱ የሚፈልጉትን ነገር ለመሞከር ስህተት ሲሰሩ ስህተቱን ሰርተው ኤክሰፕት አድርጋችሁት አዲስ ነገር ሲሞክሩ ትንሽ እድገት ሲያዩ በራሳቸው ፔስ ኢንኮሬጅ ምናምን ስታረጓቸው ትንሽም ቢሆን ፕሮግረሱ ኢንኮሬጅመንት ምናምን ሲኖር ያ ፍላጎት አይ ቲንክ ከራስ ይመጣል ኦ እንደዚህ ነገር ላይ ጎብዣለሁ እንደዚህ መሞከር እችላለሁ እና ለራሳቸው ትንሽ ኮንፊደንስ ሲኖራቸው ትንሽ ፍላጎቱ ሊመጣ ይችላል እና በፊትም እንዳልነው more opportunity more experience ነገሮች ላይ ሲኖራቸው ከፍላጎታቸው ጋር ነው I think ፍቅሩ የሚመጣው I think ከባድ ነው ማይወዱት ነገር ውስጥ ከተናቸው ወይስ pressure ወደዛ አስገበተናቸው ደግሞ እሱም ነገር ላይ ደግሞ ጠንክሩና ሁሌ ስሩ ጎብዙ ማለት ይከብዳል because already የማይፈልጉት ነገር ነው ግን ትንሽ የሚወዱት ነገር ከሆነ anything ቢሰሩ in my belief especially in America I think በጣም ብዙ opportunity ስላለ ልጆች እውነት የሚወዱት ነገር ላይ collegeም ሆነ outside of college ሆነ with a lot of work and dedication but እኔ ማምነው like so anywhere መድረስ ይችላልና ሁሌ it's not only to be a doctor or anything so I don't know I'd say generally ልጆቻችሁ ምን እንደሚፈልጉ ኤክስፕሎር እንዲያደርጉ ፈቃድላቸው ከተቻለ እና opportunity ካላችሁ ስጧቸው አዲስ ነገሮችን እንዲያዩ opportunity ስጧቸውና እሱ ላይ ራሳቸው ሲወዱት ራሳቸው እድገት ሲያዩ ያ ፍላጎት I think ከውስጥ ይመጣል
Thank you. Let's make it a little bit sensitive. The next question is going to be very sensitive, especially in Denver. አሁን ልጆቻችን ዶክተር ይሁኑ ይሄን ይሁኑ ላላልና በዛው ልክ ደግሞ ልጆቻቸውን ያጣሉ ምንም ሆኖልኝ በኖረልኝ ምንም ሆና በኖረችልኝ የሚሉ እናቶች አባቶች አሉና ambitious እንዲሆኑ እንዲማሩ እንዲያድጉ እንፈልጋለን ግን በህይወት ደግሞ ኖረውልን ደግሞ ቢቆዩልን እሰየው ብለን ሁሉንም ተቀብለን እንሄዳለንና ያንንም እንዳጣው አልፈልግም so Efrata let me come to you I think my number could be wrong I have heard so far at least 12 kids have gone through suicide in Denver እና በዚህ ሰዓት ላይ ደግሞ mental healthም ችግርም there are kids who might be thinking ብዙ ጊዜ ይደወልልኛል እናት ልጄ በዚህ ያልረፈ ወይም ደግሞ ሞክሮ በዚህ ችግር ውስጥ ሆስፒታል ነው ያለው ይሉኛልና it's a tough conversation at least once a month እንደዚህ አይነት ኮል አለ እኔ ጋር so Efrata let me come to you so what can the society do or families especially for the kids who are struggling right now and parents they are keep pushing and then we don't want those kids to become another number ባላደረኩኝ ይሄ በሆንኩኝ ከምንል ምን ሊሆን ይችላል በሽ ታስቢያለሽ
I think ይሄ ጥያቄ በጣም ከባድ ነው በተለይ ላይ I have a lot of friends whose brothers have passed away because of suicide a lot of friends who's passed away and it's difficult because I know that አቅም አለን እንግዲህ እንደሰው እንደ community አቅም አለን we have so much that we need Habesha community there's so many great things about our culture ባህላችን በጣም ጥሩ ነገር አለ ከሌላ ባህል ያልተገኘ ማለት ነው ከሌላ like any other culture I think one thing that really affects our culture especially with this topic, is fear of people. Hey, so ምን ይላል? Who's going to talk about us because my son has depression? What are people going to say? And I think በዚህ ፍርሃት ውስጥ ብዙ የተጎዱ ልጆች እንዳሉ አውቃለሁ. And I think as a community, we have two decisions, right? ሁለት ውሳኔ ነው ያለን. First, we can decide to pretend that we're a perfect family, you know. My kids are okay. ልጄ, you know, A+ student ናት. He's doing great. He's doing soccer. We can pretend that everything's okay. ልጆቻችን ሲጠፉ ማለት ነው. Or we can do everything we can to get the resources that we need, to get the therapist, to go to the doctors, to talk about everything that's going on within our families. And, you know, that means that we have to deal with this cultural issue that we have of slander and talking negatively about our families. I know ሁላችንም we want to pretend like our own family is okay, but we all know about somebody, we all know ሚስጥር ነው ለማንም ሰው እንዳይናገር ብለን ነው ይሄ ሚስጥር የሚተላለፍ እናውቃለን እንግዲህ. We all know that. And we just have to decide as a community, do we want our kids to grow? Do we want our kids to be alive? Or do we want to pretend like we're better than everybody else? So I think hey ውሳኔ ካልወሰንን በፊት, or if we haven't made this decision, we can't make any other decision. We can't advance, and we can't say, okay, now we can get everything ready and we can help. What do we want as a community? Not ራሳችን, like we have to make that decision for ourselves. Am I willing to sacrifice my image in front of my own community for the betterment of not only my kid, but the kids of my neighbors, the kids of even the people I don't like, but it's us, you know? እኛን ባናደርገው, who's going to do it? So I think that's the ከመሰረቱ ይሄ ነው ውሳኔ መውሰን ያለብን. So yeah.
እዚህ ላይ ትንሽ ነገር መጨመር ፈልጌ ነው. When I went to college, I was a resident advisor. ማለት ልጆች ፍሬሽመን አዲስ ሲመጡ እዛ ፍሎር ላይ like in the supervisor ነበርኩኝና ብዙ ጊዜ we would have situations where ልጆች would say I want to kill myself ይሉና like እኛ እንጠራለን ምናምን እና ብዙ ጊዜ I noticed the difference, like that shocked me, is a lot of those kids when they were going through that kind of those emotions, they were comfortable to call their parents, and in the middle they would talk to their parents about I'm feeling እንደዚህ ራሴን ማጥፋት ፈልጋለሁ ትምህርት ከብዶኛል ምናምን እና it would honestly catch me off guard and not shock me because I would never even call my parents to cry about something little. Laza, I think it really made me, like, to add to that, I think it's good for እኛ እንደ ቤተሰብ ቤት ላይ ከባድ ወሬ ማውራት እና ኦፕንነስ ለልጆቻችን መስጠት አለብን። ሁሌ እንዴት ናችሁ ደህና ነን እሺ ክፍላችሁ ሂዱ ወይም ቻው ምናምን ጓደኛ ይደውላለች ምግብ ልሰራ ነው ምናምን ከምንል like ከባድ ነገር ካለ ትምህርት ቤት ላይ ያን ኦፕንነስ መስጠት እና I think በፊት እነሱ ያሉት ነገር አንዳንዴ ልጆች ሲሞክሩ maybe ያ environment የለም ለምን እንደዚህ ያደርጋችሁ ወይ እንደዚህ ተሳስታችኋል እናንተ ነው ምንባለው ብዙ ጊዜ so slowly ሳታቁት ያ that connection or openness ይጠፋል እና እሱ ሲጠፋ በኋላ የሆነ ነገር ብንፈልጋችሁ or ልጆቻችሁ ቢፈልጓቸው ትንሽ ይከብዳል because ክፍተቱ already ተፈጥሯል. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to add to this point because I feel like it's very important, and I feel as though a lot of parents are fearful to talk to their kids about heavy issues. And just to add to what they said, two things. One, if you want to speak to your kid about suicide or even depression or any of these issues, I have heard parents, both American and Habesha parents, who don't want to talk about it because they're afraid that if their kid wasn't thinking it, they'll give them the idea. And that's not true. That's just not, if they weren't already there, it's not going to happen if you bring it up, that they'll think, oh, maybe I want to do that now, you know? So I would just encourage you to get rid of fear, because I think fear, it hinders a lot of relationships. And another panelist earlier, I really loved the way she put it about how she has a close relationship with her daughter. She said, like, with Allah? Yeah, and I think that's, you know, you can't fall apart in front of your kids, because your kids, they see everything oftentimes that you do for them, the way you sacrifice for them, the way you love them. And so if they're having a problem, they don't want to come to you and make your life worse, you know, by telling you about their problem. So if you're like, Weenie, or, you know, if you say something like, I'm really sad, and then your parents are like, Zimbe Seit Anisa Mashal, or whatever it is, like, they don't want to bring that to you. So I think if you really want to be involved in your kids' lives, like, find a way to manage your own emotions, your own, if you need a friend to talk to, if you need, I know therapy is sometimes taboo, but if you need a therapist, if you need to talk to your partner, your sibling, their sibling, talk to somebody else, but don't dump on them so they're not afraid to come to you. So that I just wanted to add that, because I think I hear this a lot in the community.
Sure.
Sorry, yeah, I think this is such an important topic. Like Emnet has said, and even when you do bring this up, it is okay to say, are you thinking of taking your own life? Like you said, it doesn't, and that's how, you know, we've had trainings on this before, and being direct and open is the best way to go about it. And just a side note, at the state level, at the Department of Health, they do have lots of free resources about mental health, about depression, anxiety, all of these things, and they are putting on workshops throughout the community all the time. They are in English and Spanish, they're not in Amariña, but I think that's something we can try to do as a community. But if English is not an issue, look at it at the state level. Denver also has it, Aurora also has it. They do put on these workshops quite often. And so if you want to learn more about it, they're free classes, so you can learn more about it, about the signs, about just even like knowing the terminology helps a lot. And even with like the community, we've done workshops before where we invited people to talk about it, and it was in Amariña. And so just keep an eye on those things, because we are putting on these events. We just need you guys to come.
Thank you. She just said it. ብዙ ጊዜ ወላጆች ይደውሉልኝና እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ካለፉ በኋላ ልጆቹ ስጠይቃቸው የዛሬ 2 ወር 3 ወር ተናግሮት እኮ አልሰማሁትም። ሰይጣን ጆሮ አይስማው፣ ካለፈ በኋላ ነው ይሄን የምንሰማው። እና ስላወራ ነው አይደለም ልጆቻችንን የሚያጠፉት። ተናግረው ስፔሻሊ እንዳለችው ኦፕን ሆነው ሲነግሩን እኔ ቴራፒስት አይደለሁም፣ ቴራፒስት ግን አገኝልሃለሁ። በቤተ ክርስቲያንም አንዳንዴ በእኛ እምነት ውስጥም የሚመጣ አንዳንድ ችግር አለ። ራሱን ካጠፋ ፍትሃት የለም ሊባል ይችላል። የተለያዩ ነገሮችን እየመጡ ሊያወሩልኝ ይችላሉ። ብዙ ምክንያቶችን እየፈሩ ሰዎች የማይነገሩ አሉ። ይሄን ነገር ሰይጣን ስራ አይደለም። ልጆቻችን ሁሌ ይላሉ አይደለ? I can have a broken arm and I can have a broken brain. It's part of it. ብዙ ጊዜ ምን ይባላል? ከአንገት በላይ ለእግዚአብሔር ወይ ለመንፈስ፣ ከአንገት በታች ደግሞ ለሳይንስ እንላለን። ግን ለህዝቡ ብሬንም ራሱን የቻለ ኬሚካልን ባላንስ ሊኖረው ስለሚችል ዲፕሬሽን ሆነ ሌላ ነገር በማናቀው ነገር እኛ ሳይሆን አላቅም ግን ለሚፋይንድ someone help ብለን ልጆቻችንን ካልተናገርን በስተቀር ካለፈ ከሞቱ በኋላ ልንመልሳቸው ማንችልበት ደረጃ እንደርሳለንና ይሄንን ኮሙኒኬሽን እንደዚህ የምናወራው እነዚህ ልጆች አሁን ኦፕን ሆነው ይሄን ሲናገሩ ማውራት የማይፈልጉትን ነው፣ በህብረተሰባቸው ውስጥ ማውራት የማይችሉትን ነገር ነውና ኦፕን ሆነን ማዳመጥን ቅድም ስናወራ ምንድነው be bold አይደለ be courageous። ምክንያቱም ወላጆች ይደውሉኛ አላወኩም ነበር፣ ስለዚህ አሁን በኋላ ግን አላወኩም ማለት አንችልም። ስለዚህ ነግረውናል። ልጆቹ ሲናገሩ አዳምጠን ደግሞ ምን ማድረግ እንችላለን ነው። Let me come back and then I think Fikir you already said it. Again, it's a very important thing to stay on this topic እና አንዳንዴ ደግሞ ምን እንሰማለን መሰላችሁ? ጓደኞች ለእናት ወላጆች ሳይናገሩ አንቺ እንዳልሽው ቅድም you don't want to call your parents, ግን you tell another friend. ያኛው friend ልጆቹ ምን ያደርጋሉ? I don't want to be a snitch ብለው አይናገሩም። It's not about snitching, it's about protecting ነው የምላቸውና snitching in አንዳንዴ it goes a little bit too far and now you try to protect ግን you don't adult do you feel safe in the community ሜቢ የሚያዳምጥ የለም ቅድም እንዳልሽው ለእናቴ ብናገር ዘላ ለጎረቤት ሌላ ሰው ተናግራ ሄልፕ አይመጣም ብላችሁ የምትፈሩት ነገር አለና maybe I'll start with you Efrata ለእናንተ ሲነገራችሁ do you keep it and try to save it also in your generation level that kind of communication doesn't happen
I think በhigh school ደረጃ it definitely happened because በዛ ጊዜ we didn't have that understanding of how serious it was እና middle school high school እንደዛ አይነት ስሜት ሲኖራቸው ጓደኛዎቼ እና የሆነ ነገር ሲነግሩኝ I didn't feel like I could tell their parents at all I think now college በኋላ I understood the gravity of how important it is to get people involved because you can't bring somebody back from the dead we all know that and it's really important that we teach our kids the importance of what that like how certain things are serious and them being able to realize certain things there are certain secrets that between you and your friends you don't have to tell your parents what your friend's crush is it's okay that's fine ነገር ግን እንደዚህ አይነት ትልቅ ነገር ሲሆን that's something that we need to tell the kids this is a serious thing if any of your friends have this kind of ስሜት you have to tell somebody and you don't have to even say ከለ ነው የነገረኝ ሳይሆን just anonymously መንገር አለባችሁ እንደዛ አይነት ልምድ እንዲይዙ ነው የምንፈልገው so yeah
okay so ሁላችሁም ተመሳሳይ
እኔም እንደ ኤፍራታ I think አጋጥሞኝ አያውቅም ትንሽ ሆኜ ግን ቢያጋጥመኝ probably አልናገርም ነበር because like the pressure አለ family እሷን ያለችው ካሉስ ምን ይሆናል ጓደኞቼ እናደዱብኛል ወይ ግን college like ምናምን ላይ ስትደርሱ I think ልጆች ሲደርሱ I think ትንሽ the confidence አለ ጓደኛዬን በትናደድብኝ ይሄን ፋሚሊያን በነግርባት ትክክል መሆኑን አውቃለሁና I accept እሷ ስለተናደደችብኝ it's okay ብለሽ ታምኛለሽ ግን ትንሽ ይከብዳል because ብዙ ጊዜ middle school high school ላይ especially middle school I feel like ልጆች they're always trying to fit in ብዙ ጊዜ ጓደኞች የምትሰሩበት ጊዜ ነው ራስሽን like you're going through puberty and ምናምን ለዛ ከሁሉም ሰው ውጪ መሆን ይከብዳል እና I honestly I don't know the solution or እንዴት ልጆች ላይ ያን confidence instill ማድረግ እንደምንችል ግን the only thing I can say is like the older you get you just know like right from wrong and if doing the right thing is going to cause conflict it's still worth it ትያለሽ
Yeah, I think in your high school እያለን እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ተፈጥሮ አያውቅም ነበር. I think the first one I know of was my freshman year of college. ግን አሁን ደግሞ ለአሁኑ ላሉ ልጆች that's not the case. I think we had the privilege of that and even as parents, our parents at that time had the privilege of not having to deal with that. አሁን ግን ያ privilege የለም. ብዙ እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር happen ስላደረገ አናቅም ወይ ደግሞ የኛ ኮሚኒቲ የኛ ልጆች ላይ እንደዚህ አይሆንም ማለት አይቻልም. ያ time አልፏል. And I think you have to be proactive now. እና እንደዚህ አይነት እንደዚህ በቃ ጥልቅ በጣም like serious የሆነ conversation ላይ በግድ ያንን conversation ከማድረግ way before that simpler topics get together every Friday we have family night or every whatever እና እንደዚህ አይነቱን habit ቀደም ብላችሁ ካረጋችሁ already you're creating the environment where they can come to you and have those conversations and even ለቤተሰብ ብቻ ሳይሆን ወይ ደግሞ ለምን ዛሬ የኛ ቤት ጓደኞቻችሁ መተው ሙቪ ናይት እናርጉ እና አባይ ፖፕኮርን ፒዛ ምናምን ትሉና ያኔ ወደፊትም ራሱ የነሱ ጓደኞች የሰውን ሰው ማን ቤት እኮ እዛ ቤት ሴፍቲ የሚሰማኝ ቤት ነው እዛ ቤት እኮ ቢሄድ ሁሉ ጊዜ በራቸው ክፍት ነው እዛ ቤት ቢሄድ እኮ እነሱ እናትና አባት የኔም እናትና አባት ነው ስለዚህ አንዳንድ ነገሮችን ሼር ማድረግ እችላለሁ ግን you have to create that environment ahead of time ያ environment ከሌላቸው እንዴት አድርገው ነው እንደዛ አይነት ነገር ከሰሙ ማን ጋር ይሄዳሉ already በቃ ሴፍ የሚሰማቸው ቦታ ከሌለ ስለዚህ ደግሞ እናንተም ደግሞ አቅሙ ካላችሁ ስፔሱ ካላችሁ የኔ ቤት የጓደኞቼ ልጆች ቤትም ይሁን የጓደኞቼ የልጆቼ ጓደኞች ቤትም ራሱ የኔ ይሁን ብላችሁ የናንተን ስፔስ ኦፕን ካረጋችሁ I think that's one way to be proactive and one way to like get ahead of the issue እና እነዚህ ልጆች ሜቢ ለራሳቸው ቤተሰብ መንገር ካልቻሉ አትሊስት ሁለተኛ እናትና አባት አለኝ ብለው እዛ መሄድ ይችላሉ so yeah
thank you በዚህ ላይ ብንቆይ እንዳልኩት ሁሉም ፕሮግራም ሁለት ቀን መፍሰጅ ይችላል ግን we have to end it unfortunately so I want to say thank you for this use they told us we need to listen ተናግረዋል ከልባቸው አውጥተዋል ደፍረው ኮሚኒቲ ምን ይለናል አንዳንዴ በየስቴቱ ሲሄድ የተለያየ ችግርም ቢሆን ኮመን የሆነ ጭንቀት አላቸውና እኛ እነዚህ ልጆች አዳምጠን ከሰማን አሁን ደግሞ በዚህ ሰዓት ላይ ያሉ ልጆች 10 ዓመት 10 ዓመት የምናሳድጋቸው ልጆች እንዴት ልንረዳቸው የሚችል ስለሆነ በጣም እናመሰግናለን በሉኝ እነዚህ ልጆችና thank you for being here I really appreciate you all